Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 24 playthrough of the Buffalo Wings. And after 9 major league seasons in Buffalo, 7 consecutive playoff appearances, our Buffalo Wings are finally off to the World Series for the first time. Going to be a World Series of contrasts between Buffalo and Toronto here in 2034. Taking a look at the Toronto Blue Jays, they are a very big market team, fourth highest budget in baseball, fifth highest player payroll, a stark contrast to our small market Buffalo Wings, who are middle of the pack in terms of their budget, and certainly a much smaller and less cosmopolitan city in Buffalo compared to Toronto. But we believe our working class roots in Buffalo are going to help give us the strength and fortitude to overcome the fancy pants, rich Toronto Blue Jays here in the World Series. And it's going to be an interesting challenge for us. The Blue Jays have 3 left-handers in their pitching rotation and also potentially 4 left-handers out of their bullpen. So we should be seeing some different lineups than we have typically seen from the Buffalo Wings. I believe in our first 9 playoff games during the 3-game sweep of the Philadelphia Phillies and then the 6-game 4-2 victory over the San Francisco Giants. I think we've faced all right-handed starters against us, I believe. So will be interesting to see what potentially some different starters are able to do in the lineups for us. Thinking a little more deeply about this Toronto team, one thing that stood out to me when I did a little scouting of my own on these Toronto Blue Jays is that their starter ERA was 6th in the American League, but their bullpen ERA is 12th. So I think the way that we approach this series in Buffalo is if we can get their starters out relatively early, or at most pitching 5+ innings, and we can get into that bullpen, that is probably the path to success. They've got a pretty good starting rotation, and they did take 2 out of 3 against us this year. Both teams have excellent offenses. The Blue Jays were second in the AL in runs scored. Our Buffalo Wings were second in the National League in runs scored. The difference is our pitching staffs. We were first in runs against in the National League. The Blue Jays a middle of the pack 9th. And as we talked about, they were above average in terms of their starting rotation, but their bullpen is a potential weak spot. So again, I think the path to potential success in this playoffs is for us to hopefully get their starters out, make them throw a lot of pitches, and get to situations where that bullpen needs to be throwing 4, 5, 6 innings in a game rather than 2 or 3 innings in a game. And I think if we're able to get to the late innings of these games tied, our strong bullpen and Toronto's relatively weak bullpen could be an important factor in how this story is eventually written. And as we get ready for game 1 of this series, you may notice from the last time we checked in on this screen that Shazier, our co-ace, along with Alexis Barajas, has been moved up to start in game 1. We're going to push Juan Estrada back to game 2. Estrada is more than fully rested, whereas Shazier is just on his normal rest, and apparently our bench coach wanted to default to the much more rested Estrada. But since Shazier is on normal rest, we want to get one of our 2 aces out there in game 1. The other reason we like potentially doing that is I think we'd rather have Shazier pitching in Toronto where some home runs can be hit. He has well above average movement, extreme ground ball tendencies, throws pretty hard, gave up 14 homers in 172 and a third innings this year. Juan Estrada, obviously also a successful season and only 12 home runs in 139 and a third innings, but his movement is not quite as good, doesn't have the same ground ball tendencies, doesn't throw quite as hard. So the thought is I'd rather have Shazier potentially pitching in Toronto than Estrada, especially since Shazier can still start today on normal rest. He'll be going up against Ricky Tiedemann, pretty accomplished pitcher, making a lot of money, $25 million this year, a three-time All-Star. The left-hander was 14-7 this year with a 2.94 ERA, 4.8 WAR. You look at what he's done over the course of his major league career, and he has been a well above average starting pitcher for the Toronto Blue Jays, led the American League in ERA a couple of times. So going to be a good pitchers matchup potentially here. The hope is that, as we've talked about, if we can get Tiedemann out of the game relatively early and get into that bullpen, we think that that may be the soft underbelly of these Toronto Blue Jays that hopefully our deep Buffalo Wings lineup will be able to take advantage of here in the 2034 World Series. And as we get ready for Game 1 to begin, we'll see that there are a few positions where the Blue Jays have an advantage over the Wings. That's a bit of a contrast to some of the games we've had with Philadelphia and even San Francisco, where our Wings have looked dominant. Looking at this Blue Jays lineup, their first 5 batters all have 25 or more home runs on the season. We've talked about the fact that they were second in the National League or second in the American League in runs scored. And they certainly look like a team that could score some runs on us. So our hope is that our pitching will be as good as it has been throughout the year. And although we don't have the same type of home run power in our lineup as the Blue Jays do, hopefully a versatile lineup and a lot of positions where we think we're using platoons effectively will come back and help us as we try to win the first of hopefully 4 more wins during this 2034 season. And we're off to a rough start here in the top of the first. Shazier walked the first batter, and Michael Harris II just drilled a 2-run home run to left center field. So Toronto is already up on us 2-0, only a matter of 15 pitches into the game for Shazier. And Shazier did end up getting out of the inning without any more damage, but still not optimal to be down 2-0 before we've even gotten a batter to the plate. As I mentioned, going against the lefty Tiedemann, we will have a very different lineup than we've traditionally seen in most of these playoff games. 5 different players in the starting lineup. Joey Moore in left field now, Tyreek Hardage in center field, Arturo Flores, who is 1 for 4 in his brief major league career, all of which has been during this postseason after he hit 61 home runs across 4 levels in the minors this year, will be our starting first baseman. Joe Edwards in at third, and Tim Hull in at shortstop for us. So only 4 holdovers in the lineup are the catcher Medina, Mike Heiner, DH Shamar Jenneret, and second baseman Deshaun Seifu. Otherwise, we've got a very different lineup here. Joey Moore, who we brought over in that trade with Boston, has excellent speed. So he actually leads off for us against left-handers, and Deshaun Seifu falls to the number 2 hole. And unfortunately for our Buffalo Wings, it was 3 up, 3 down in the bottom of the first. So as we head to the second inning, Toronto holds a 2-0 lead on our Buffalo Wings. And we may have a little bit brewing here in the bottom of the second. Arturo Flores came through with our first hit of the day, a single. Joe Edwards was then hit by a pitch. So we've got runners on first and second with 2 outs. The right-handed hitting shortstop, Tim Hull, up. We'll see if he can come through with a clutch hit for us. Probably not. Although it looks like it ends up being, no. I thought it might be an infield single, but I just got thrown out by the catcher. So 2-0 Toronto as we head to the third here in Buffalo. And we've got a runner in scoring position here in the bottom of the third. Andres Medina made an out his first time up, but Joey Moore just doubled Jesus de Santiago has a decent arm for the Blue Jays, but Joey Moore is an extremely proficient base runner. We are going to try, especially with the right-handed hitting Seifu between the two of them in third base, see if Moore can steal third for us. Looks like decided not to go. With the count 1-0, we're going to take a pitch in case they try to do a pitch out. And away with a fastball, so a 2-0 count now. We're going to still try to run here now, see if Moore can get to third base. And he gets in there easily. So we've got the runner in scoring position, 2-1 count to Seifu now, and we will let him swing away. Hope to at least get one of the runs back here before the end of this inning. And Seifu got plunked. Dirty Toronto Blue Jays. So runners on the corners now. Tyreek Hardage up. Hardage is not the worst bunter in the world. There's a chance that we could do something interesting here with the amount of speed that we have on at first and third base. And I've got confidence that Hardage can execute for us. So we're not even going to try the safety squeeze. We are just going to go with a squeeze play here, try to ensure that we get the runner board. Seems a bit of an odd thing to do with our number 3 hitter, but honestly, I don't want to say the one gap, but I feel that the biggest gap we do have in this lineup is the number 3 hole against left-handed pitching. Tyreek Hardage is not a proven major league hitter yet. We're going to try to ensure that we get one run across here in the third. It seems like Sincere Shazier has settled down a little bit. Hopefully he can hold Toronto at 2 for another 2 or 3 innings at least. Would love to get a run here. So we're going to try a squeeze. And Hardage, even though he missed it, Moore somehow slid safely and stole home. I did think that the speed could work in our advantage. I was really disappointed when I saw that Hardage missed trying to do the bunt with those good bunting skills. But although I didn't mention it, there was a part of me that thought with the just ridiculous speed that Moore has, and obviously you do have to have ridiculous speed to be able to move someone like Deshaun Seifu to second in the batting order. So we got lucky there, extremely lucky, that Joey Moore and his talented, creative sliding ability enabled him to get in there under the pitch, because it was basically just a steal of home base when all was said and done. But we got the run across, and even in a better situation now with just 1 out. We are going to try to keep the pressure on these guys by sending Seifu now with an 0-1 count. And Seifu turns around after that 2 strikes. With the 2 strikes on Hardage, I know he couldn't get the bunt down before, so this is... I can't have a bunt. But we're going to try to put the hit and run on here, at least get Seifu moving. And Hardage goes yard. So that was a very odd series of events. I'm going to completely acknowledge it is better to be lucky than good. None of that was the way that I tried to write it up. But we now have a 3-2 lead on Toronto here in the bottom of the third. Still only 1 out. Tyreek Hardage, first postseason home run of his career. And now we've got the cleanup hitter, the man Shamar Jenneret, up against Tiedemann here. So we will stay involved in the action, see what Jenneret can do. And Jenneret ropes it out to center field. Looks like that's going to be a two-bagger for Shamar Jenneret. So keeping the pressure on this team. Got a runner in scoring position again, and the young first baseman Arturo Flores up here in the bottom of the third inning. And Flores strikes out for the second out of the inning. Mike Heiner, the one left-hander we have in the lineup, also strikes out to end the inning. So did get 3 runs in a very strange turn of events for Buffalo, and we've got a 3-2 lead now as we head to the top of the 4th inning. And Shazier had an easy top of the 4th, and it seemed like it was going to be an easy bottom of the 4th here, but we've now got runners on first and second. Tim Hull reached on a walk, and then Joey Moore just reached on an error. So runners on first and second with 2 outs. Deshaun Seifu at the plate with an opportunity to extend the lead for us if he can come through here in the clutch. Unfortunately, he struck out. So we head to the 5th. Buffalo 3, Toronto 2. And we made it to the bottom of the 5th, holding on to that 3-2 lead. Faced only 3 batters in the top of the 5th. There was a leadoff walk erased by a double play. Tyreek Hardage, the hero with that 2-run homer back in the 3rd, is going to be leading off against Tiedemann. Let's see what he can do. Tiedemann at 79 pitches now, so probably not too far from getting him out of the game. And Hardage leads off with a single, so maybe we can get something going here. Love to see what Jenneret can do facing left-handed pitching. Jenneret is obviously a premier force against lefties. We'll see if he can come through here in the clutch for us. And he struck out. And with the youngster Arturo Flores up, and thinking about potentially sending Tyreek Hardage. He's got decent base running skills, but we're just going to let Flores hit. Ooh, and the young third baseman is plunked. So we've got runners on first and second now. Unfortunately, our one left-handed batter in the lineup, Mike Heiner, is up, but he's the most balanced of our lefty hitters. We'll see if he can come through here in the pinch for us. And Heiner does come through with a single, and Hardage comes around to score. So runners on first and second as we extend the lead to 4-2. See what Joe Edwards can do here. We're up to 92 pitches from Tiedemann, so I would think that he's probably not going to be back out for a 6th inning, regardless of whether they get these next 2 outs quickly or with us scoring a few more runs. Joe Edwards lifts it to center field. Not able to tag on that, so 2 away, unproductive out by Edwards, and now Tim Hull is on. The right-handed pitcher Miguel Olivares is now on the mound, coming in relief. It's not a huge opportunity here, but it still is a potential opportunity for us to pinch hit. And we are going to go to the youngster since he is a better defensively. Steve Anderson, the left-handed hitting shortstop, is going to come into the game for us. And we'll see if he can deliver a big pinch hit against Olivares. And at the very least, we'll have tightened up our defense a little bit at shortstop for the last 4+ innings of this game. And Anderson looks like that's a pop out to left field to finish the inning. So it doesn't come through. 1 run on 2 hits for Buffalo, and we've doubled the lead to 4-2. And there were relatively easy sixth innings for both pitchers. And here in the top of the seventh, with a 4-2 lead, we are going to make a call to the bullpen. Sincere Shazier in line for the potential win. Was not a perfect game for him by any stretch of the imagination. Obviously, allowing 2 runs in the first inning. Ended up allowing 4 hits and walking 3 over 6 innings, while also striking out 3. So not a vintage performance from Sincere Shazier, but he did well enough to get himself set up for the win potentially. We are going to go to our left-handed stopper, Lorne Walborn. He's had an outstanding season for us this year, and in theory, 3 of the next 5 hitters are left-handed hitters. So hopefully Walborn can get us a good chunk of the 9 outs that we're going to need to clinch a victory in Game 1 of the World Series. And we got a good inning out of Mr. Walborn. And Tyreek Hardage just led off the inning here with a double for us. So we've got a runner in scoring position with no outs as we try to extend the lead here in the bottom of the 7th. Jenneret up against the reliever Olivares, and Jenneret draws the walk, so runners on first and second now, nobody out. Arturo Flores up, and I think this is potentially time for us to go to a pinch hitter, and we are going to bring on Bobby Bolig for the youngster Flores, and see what he can do against the right-handed pitcher. Olivares will also upgrade our defense at first a bit, given that we are now 6 outs away from a potential victory. And Bolig gives it a ride, and he goes yard. A 3-run pinch hit home run for Bobby Bolig to extend the lead for Buffalo to 7-2. So that was a big blow for Bobby Bolig, the corner infielder / outfielder, who is real tough on right-handed pitchers. I thought when we announced him as a pinch hitter, they might bring in a left-handed reliever. Fortunately for us, they did not, and the Wings are up 7-2. Still no outs here in the bottom of the 7th. And they did oddly go to a left-handed pitcher for the next batter, which was very strange. The left-handed batter, Mike Heiner, doubled, so we've got a runner in scoring position again, so we'll go back to the live action. The right-handed hitting Joe Edwards with a runner on second base, and nobody's out against Jackson Ferris, a pretty good reliever. And Edwards flies out to right. Heiner tags up and goes to third, so we've got a runner in scoring position with 1 out. And the left-handed hitting shortstop Steve Anderson up. Since he's already a substitute in the game, we're not going to take him out. Also not going to be bunting with Mr. Anderson, so we will just need to let him hit away and hope that he can lift a fly ball to the outfield to get another run in for us at the very least. He grounds it to short, but he got the job done. Infield single for Anderson, so he comes through to extend the lead to 8-2. And Ferris now up against the number 9 hitter, Andres Medina. And Medina goes down looking. We'll see what Joey Moore can do here with a couple of outs and a runner on first base here in the bottom of the 7th. And Joey Moore flies out to right. So the inning is over, but 4 runs on 4 hits, including the big 3-run pinch hit homer for Bobby Bolig. And Buffalo has extended their lead to 8-2 as we head to the 8th inning. And we just got a 2-out single from Shamar Jenneret here in the bottom of the 8th. We are going to pinch hit for the hero Bolig. With an 8-2 lead, none of this should really matter. But we are going to try to ultimately make a couple of moves to upgrade our offense for the ninth inning, anyways. And Bolig being so ineffective against left-handed pitching, we are going to pinch hit for him with the young outfielder Tim Gaglia, who will be keeping in the game to help our defense in the outfield, and see if maybe Gaglia can come through with a big two-out hit for us here in the bottom of the eighth. And it looks like he will not come through with the hit. He flies out to left field. So a 6-run lead for us at this point. Gaglia now in the game. We'll let you know what the lineup looks like after we do some modifications here. And we've made a number of moves to empty off most of our bench here with the 6-run lead. Cam Collier has come into the game, replacing Joey Moore. He's gone to third, which means that we pivot Joe Edwards from third to first. We keep Gaglia in the game at center field and move Tyreek Hardage over to left. So essentially, Collier is the only new player in the game for us at this point. Moore is now out of the lineup, and we shifted around several position players to hopefully tighten up our defense. Lauren Walburn has given us 2 innings pitched, 1 hit, 3 strikeout, already 20 pitches into the game with a 6-run lead in another game tomorrow. We're not going to push Walburn too much. And we will go to the veteran reliever Hayden Yinger, who's been a good starter for us over the years as well, to hopefully get the final 3 outs for us here today. Left-handed batter Oscar Lanze up for the Blue Jays. And Lanze gives that one a ride to center field, but Gaglia there to make the play, 1 away. Yinger going against Danny Havens, another left-handed batter now, and he strikes him out, 1 out away from a potential 1-0 lead in the series. Yinger now going against Juan Guerra. And Guerra gives that one a ride to left field, but Hardage is there. And the Buffalo Wings, 8-2 winners here in Game 1 of the World Series. 1 down and 3 to go for us in Buffalo. Kind of, obviously, it was a very weird 3 runs that we scored in the 3rd inning on what ended up being a steal of home, and then a 2-run homer on a 0-2 count, executing or attempting to execute a hit and run. I guess it was technically a hit and run. But the final innings, when we scored 5 runs over the last 4+ innings when we got into the bullpen of Toronto, was the way we kind of did hope that this would work out and the way that we wrote it up. Shazier with a quality start wins his 3rd game of the postseason. Walburn with another hold. Yinger came on and pitched in the 9th. They ended up using only Olivares and Ferris out of their bullpen. Tiedemann took the loss, and the big offense was obviously Hardage, 3 for 5 with 3 runs scored and 3 ribbies for the young center fielder. Also got a couple hits from Jenneret, and then clearly the biggest blow of the game was the pinch hit homer from Bobby Bolig. Heiner also 2 for 4 with a run scored and a run driven in. So great start to the World Series for Buffalo, 8-2 win over Toronto, and our Buffalo Wings are up 1-0 in this 2034 World Series. And with Game 1 behind us, time to get ready for Game 2 in Buffalo. This is really going to be a pivotal game for us. We've got our number 3 starter, Juan Estrada, on the mound. Alexis Barajas will be going for us in Game 3 when he's fully rested, but not going to bring him back on only 4 days since he was the pitcher who started for us in Game 6 of the clincher against the Giants. So we've got a tough pitching matchup. Makia Negrete 3-0 with an 0.92 ERA in the playoffs for the left-handed pitcher. Was 15-11 with a 3.65 ERA this year. Led the American League with the fewest walks per 9 innings. Another left-hander that we'll be going against. Estrada is on full rest. Hasn't pitched since Game 3 of the National League Championship Series, and you'll note that we didn't even use him as a pinch hitter yesterday in the game. So he should be, because he is a two-way player, so he should be fully rested. No record this postseason, but a 1.69 ERA, and he was the most valuable player of the National League Division Series. But I think this is not a great matchup for us going up against Makia Negrete. The hope is that the offense that scored 8 runs for us yesterday can come through either against Negrete or against the bullpen if we can get Negrete out of the game in the early to mid innings. And hopefully we'll get a big game from Estrada. If we can go up 2-0 and remain undefeated at home in the playoffs, we'll feel real good about our chances to potentially head to Toronto with our ace on the mound in the form of Barajas for a Game 3 with a 2-0 lead. That would be the dream scenario, obviously, and we are potentially 9 innings away from making that dream scenario a reality. And it was 3 up, 3 down for Toronto in the top of the first, including a strikeout by Mr. Estrada. Going against the left-hander Negrete, we've got the same lineup that we had yesterday. So we'll see if we can score some more runs here today. And Sean Seifu just laced a 1-out single to right field. So we've got a guy with some speed on at first base. Jesus de Santiago, as we talked about, does have a pretty good arm. We're going to take a pitch here just to see if there's any chance that Toronto is going to pitch out. They do throw over to Seifu, so they are clearly concerned about him. We're still going to take another pitch. And a strike right down the middle to Mr. Hardage. We're going to send Seifu now. And Seifu is gunned out. We were getting way too aggressive on the base paths with Seifu. We just assume he's always going to be safe. Aren't thinking and being smart about the situational base running. But an 0-2 count now on Hardage here. And he knocks it out to right field for the final out of the inning. So single by Seifu wasted as we were insistent on trying to run, and there's no score at the end of 1 here in Buffalo. And Juan Estrada is in his first interesting situation here in the top of the third. 2 outs, runners on the corners, and the excellent right-handed batter Dylan Bond is up. I'm going to try to pitch around him. And a stolen base. So they are being very aggressive. Michael Harris II is obviously a big-time hitter. He's certainly better against right-handed pitchers than left-handed pitchers. But he's still pretty effective against left-handed batters. But Dylan Bond has some crazy contact and power ratings against a left-handed pitcher. We are going to intentionally walk Bond since they stole that base, load things up, and see if the lefty can get the lefty Michael Harris II out here. This is a potentially critical moment early in this game. Only 1 hit allowed by Estrada, but he's still facing a bases loaded situation here in the top of the third with the number 3 hitter up for the Toronto Blue Jays. And Estrada coaxes the grounder to third, gets out of the inning. So the Blue Jays, as they say, threaten but do not score. And we are headed to the bottom of the third, tied 0-0 here in Buffalo. And here in the bottom of the third, we've got a little two-out rally going. Andres Medina and Joey Moore have just had back-to-back singles off of Negrete, so runners on first and second for Deshaun Seifu. And Seifu looks like that's going to end the inning, flies out to left. So both teams threatened a bit in the third inning, certainly the Blue Jays more so than Buffalo, but no score as we head to the top of the fourth. And we just had a situation here. The Blue Jays have strung together 3 straight singles to start the inning. Fortunately for us, they sent Sanders, and he was thrown out at the plate when he tried to score on the single that just happened by Havens. So still in a bit of a jam here with runners on first and second and only 1 out, but a much better situation than it could have been. See if Estrada can get Juan Guerra here. Guerra looks like he lifts that to center field. That should be the second out of the inning. The runner unable to tag, so 2 away now, and now we are facing the catcher Jesus de Santiago with a couple of outs here and an opportunity for Estrada to once again escape the inning, and he does, strikes him out to end the inning. So we head to the bottom of the fourth, and Estrada has been definitely a bit volatile the last 2 innings, but still nothing across for Toronto. And although Mejia Negrete has been pretty efficient for Toronto so far, 45 pitches here with 1 out in the fourth inning. Shamar Jenneret did just hit a double down the right field line with 1 out. So Arturo Flores now up with a runner in scoring position and just 1 out. And Flores gives that one a ride to right field. Unfortunately, Jenneret does not tag up, and he's actually caught out. So that was pathetic base running by Shamar Jenneret there. I don't know why he was going halfway and then trying to come back. I never understand that in real baseball. And just pathetic base running there by Buffalo. And it's no runs and 4 hits for both teams through 4 innings here in Buffalo. And after we had a relatively easy top of the 5th for Juan Estrada, Mike Heiner has led off the bottom of the 5th here with a triple. So certainly a really good opportunity for us to take the lead here. No outs, a runner on third, and we've got 3 right-handed batters, the bottom 3 in the order coming up against Mejia Negrete. Certainly hope that we can either get a hit or a long fly ball to the outfield to get a run in. Edwards unfortunately goes down on a strikeout. Tim Hull up now with 1 out. And Hull draws the walk, so runners on the corners with 1 out here in the bottom of the 5th. Negrete now up to 65 pitches, so probably still potentially has another inning or 2 in him unless we really break things open here. And we'll see if the young catcher Andres Medina can come through with a big hit here. Runners on first and third, 1 out. And he drives it to right field. Looks like we are tagging up, trying to score, and the run does score. So a productive out there by Andres Medina gives Buffalo a 1-0 lead. We'll see if Joey Moore can come through with a 2-out hit here against Negrete. And Joey Moore does come through with a 2-out hit. Looks like Hull is going to third, so we're trying to keep the pressure on them. Opportunity for a clutch hit now from Deshaun Seifu. Runners on the corners, 2 away. We've gotten 1 run this inning, but a hit from Seifu with the speed that we have with Joey Moore could certainly make things interesting. And unfortunately, Seifu strikes out to end the inning. So the Wings do get a run to take the lead, but it is still a very tight 1-0 game as we head to the top of the 6th inning. Juan Estrada has only thrown 64 pitches for us. We've got a lefty up now in Michael Harris II. Certainly will give him the opportunity to face him. And by not showing that, I was hoping to manifest an out from Michael Harris II. Unfortunately, got an infield hit. Estrada, it was just a dribbler to the mound, but Estrada was unable to make the play. And with a pretty good hitting right-handed bat up in Brad Saunders and a 1-0 lead, we are going to try to piece this together with the bullpen. And we are going to bring in Marco Jimenez now to see if he can get Sanders out and hopefully some of the other players that he'll be facing. They've got some speed on the base paths. We're actually not going to go to double play depth. We're just going to go right after Sanders with Jimenez here. And we did get the play at second. Fielder's choice for Sanders, one away. Fielder's choice for Jimenez. Sanders now on first. And one away in the inning. The left-handed batter, Brauli Diaz, is now up. He's got some good power. And the 1-6-3 double play gets us out of the inning. So Estrada ended up going just 5 innings, but he still is in line for the victory as we head to the bottom of the 6th with a 1-0 lead. Negrete still on the mound. He's thrown 80 pitches, so I would think this is probably going to be his last time trying to get 3 outs and another inning in the books for Toronto. And we are now in a situation, 1 out in the top of the 7th. Marco Jimenez just struck out the first baseman Havens. They brought on a left-handed batter, Darrell Griffin, to pinch hit. And we're not going to fool around. We're going to go right for a left-handed reliever here. They made the first move, so they are going to be stuck. And Juan Veliz is fully rested, and we will go with Mr. Veliz here. Even though there's only 1 out, we're going to start mix and matching. We've got the day off tomorrow, so we feel like we can empty the bullpen and play the matchups as much as possible. Veliz going against Griffin, and he grounds it down to second for the second out of the inning. Now the switch hitting catcher Jesus de Santiago up against Veliz. 1-2 count, and he struck him out. So no runs for Toronto in the top of the 7th. Buffalo ahead 1-0 as we head to the 7th inning stretch. And it looks like Negrete is still coming back onto the mound, throwing 87 pitches, but he's given them a really good performance thus far, even though he's down 1-0. And after Negrete struck out Joe Edwards to start at the inning, they went to Luke Fox. So Luke Fox now in, the left-hander, with 1 out here in the bottom of the 7th. We'll see if we can generate any offense for him. We knew there was a lot of left-handed arms out of the bullpen. This will be the first time we're seeing Fox in this World Series. And nothing going for Buffalo in the bottom of the 7th, so we go to the 8th with that 1-0 lead. We've made another call to the bullpen, bring on the righty Andrew Painter, with 2 of the next 3 hitters expected to be right-handed batters, but then they go to the left-hander Aaron Bracco as a pinch hitter here. So we may only end up being able to face the 3rd batter of the inning. Dylan Bond may be the only righty who ends up getting faced by Painter. But Painter has been good for us in the playoffs thus far this season and has been a valuable arm out of the bullpen. We'll see if he can hopefully get us through this 8th inning. And it was a good inning by Painter. He coaxed ground outs from both of the left-handed batters, and then he struck out Dylan Bond to end the inning. So 1-0 lead for Buffalo. We're potentially 3 outs away from taking a 2-0 series lead. Would clearly love to get some insurance runs here in the bottom of the 8th against Luke Fox. We've got the top of the order, Moore, Seifu, and Hardage coming up. Hopefully we can do some damage. And unfortunately, it was 3 up, 3 down for Buffalo in the bottom of the 8th. So we head to the 9th with a 1-0 lead. We are going to try to tighten up some of the defense here, and we may also make a call to the bullpen as we try to get 3 more outs without allowing a run across the plate. And we made a number of changes to tighten up the defense. We took out Joey Moore in left field, slid Tyreek Hardage over there, and brought in Tim Gagley to play center field for us. And then we also removed the young first baseman Arturo Flores from the game, shifted Joe Edwards to first from third, shifted Tim Hull from short to second, and brought Steve Anderson in the game to tighten up our infield defense at shortstop. And we are also going to bring on our closer, Bryce Miller, with this 1-0 lead here in the 9th inning. He'll be going up against the 3, 4, and 5 hitters, so the heart of the Toronto order, the dangerous Michael Harris II, leading off here in the top of the 9th. And it looks like he popped that one up to third. Seifu makes the play for the first out of the inning. Brad Sanders, the cleanup hitter, designated hitter up here. Certainly Toronto would love to see him go yard here. He gives it a ride, but looks like a relatively easy play for Gagley in center field. 2 away here. Only 3 pitches thrown by Miller so far. The left-handed batter, Brawley Diaz, does have home run power. We'll see if Miller can get the second baseman out to finish off this game. And Bryce Miller comes on and closes out the Toronto Blue Jays. So a very hard-fought pitcher's duel, but a 1-0 win for Buffalo behind Juan Estrada to take a 2-0 lead in the series. The big blow was the sacrifice fly from Andres Medina in the 5th that scored Heiner after he had that triple. And that ended up getting the job done for us. The only run of the game, just 5 hits for Toronto, just 7 for Buffalo. Not a ton of offense. As we talked about, Heiner scored the run. Medina drove it in. 2 hits from Joey Moore and 2 hits from Shamar Jenneret. Ended up emptying the bullpen once again using 4 different relievers. But we got 4 hitless innings between Jimenez, Veliz, Painter, and Miller with 4 strikeouts and no walks. So 4 perfect innings of relief when all was said and done for Buffalo. Strada went 5, allowing 5 hits and 3 walks. Was not a perfect effort, but still named the player of the game. And our Buffalo Wings remain undefeated in Buffalo throughout these 2034 playoffs. And Buffalo is now just 2 victories away from a potential World Series title. And we will find out whether the Buffalo Wings can win 2 more games against Toronto to close out this World Series in our next episode, previewing Game 3, which will be today in Toronto, as we have moved a couple of hours northwest of Buffalo. Shane McClanahan going to be on the mound for Toronto, another left-handed starter. 14-4 this season with a 3.69 ERA, a year after leading the American League with 20 victories. 37 years old. His stuff is not exceptional but anymore, but he is still clearly an effective major league pitcher. ground ball tendencies, good movement on his pitches, and doesn't walk a ton of batters. And we will have our co-ace Alexis Barajas on the mound, combined for a 14-7 record between Miami and Buffalo this year. Much more effective in Miami than he was in Buffalo, but he is 2-0 with a 3.06 ERA in the playoffs. McClanahan 1-0 with a 2.25 ERA. So should be another good pitching matchup in Game 3. But with a 2-0 lead in the series, we're going to be saying the same thing that we said in the NLCS when we headed to San Francisco. The goal is just to ensure that we get at least one win in Toronto. Would clearly love to do it today to really put the pressure on the Blue Jays. But if we win at least one game in Toronto, I think that we should be fairly well positioned to hopefully win it all. And we will find out whether or not the Buffalo Wings will be raising the World Series trophy in triumph in this 2034 season in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching and hope you have a great day.